Hello and welcome to our Spotlight interview series. I'm your host, Bear McDonald, and I'm joined today by Bob Daigle, owner of InExpress here in Halifax. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today. Could you take a moment and explain a little bit about who you are and what got you on this entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, for sure, Barrett. First, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and appreciate the invite. Bob Daigle, I am the owner of InExpress. We're a shipping and logistics consulting and provisioning company that focus on small and medium-sized companies. What we do really is we help them save time and money and effort by really working with them to understand what their needs are, providing them with great pricing from carriers and superior customer service through our negotiated relationships with those carrier companies.
Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah.
Good way to save people money. So what would you say are some of the misconceptions you've discovered about running your own business and how do you address them?
Yeah, no, some of the misconceptions are number one, it's really risky to run your own business. And there is risk involved, absolutely, because you are taking a leap of faith on yourself. But I would say the risk is different than actually working for someone else. So for most of my career, I was employed by other people, and I had great experiences. But there was never a time in my life where I felt comfortable that I was completely in charge of my future and my destiny. So now I feel that way. So it leaves me energized. And even though there are other risks, I feel like I'm in much more control of those risks, and I am a little bit more in control of what my future looks like, and without any curveballs potentially being thrown my way. The other thing is, people talk about, the amount of time it takes if you run your own business, and yeah, I spend a lot of time on business. I spend a lot of time on business. And you have to, but I also spend a lot of time on my other businesses when I work for other people because you're busy. So
Right.
so really it's about prioritization of that time and making really good use of the time. So I carve out probably 55 hours a week for the business, but I do it in a manner that allows me to be somewhat present with my family. I'm fortunate in the business that I chose. I chose the business for that reason. It's fairly portable, right?
Right.
So I can take my kids on a ski trip with my computer. I
Right.
can, I can be in the background or I can be in the foreground. I can get them to their events at 4 p.m. Just means I come home and go back to work, right?
Right.
So yeah, lots of work, but lots of flexibility, and I think that's one of the big misconceptions as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about like the other businesses you're dealing with, and then in your past and your current role, what are some of the biggest learnings you've had about being like an employer and that they're having about being an employer since everyone began in business?
Can you explain that? Ask that question again,
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
absolutely. So thinking on the conversations that you have with other business owners, figuring out how to ship their goods, and in your previous roles with other companies and in your current role owning this business, what are some of the learnings that you've had as being an employer or the perceived learnings that you've had since you began?
Oh, sure. Um, you know, everybody is how should I put this? Most people are really trying to bring value to somebody, whether it's me
Right.
trying to help somebody with a problem with their logistics or better pricing or what have you, or a customer that is manufacturing fans for large commercial installations or things along those lines. Um, Generally speaking, the folks that I've worked with uh, in all of my careers and in this career are good people that are trying to do
Right.
good work for their customers and their clients. There's nobody really out there. Oh, I'm sure they exist, but by and large, 99% of people that I've been exposed to in my career are doing the right things for the right reasons. And I find that in the small and medium-sized business community, it's even more so.
Right.
Often they're following a passion, and so that passion is what led them to the um, companies that they own or the companies that they operate in,
Hmm.
and or a passion for uh, um, freedom from day-to-day job or what have you. So yeah, I guess those will be kind of my learnings, is that, the folks that people are reasonable, people are trying to do good things. And if you keep that in mind and you are reasonable and try to do good things for them, life works out pretty good.
Absolutely. So when you think about scaling your business, as we talked about before we jumped on this call, what are some of the qualities that you're going to look for in the employees and everything that you're bringing on board?
Yeah, one thing I've always looked for in employees, the number one thing is initiative. I've had the opportunity to manage very large teams and smaller teams, and what I can say is that the person that is making mistakes because they're trying to do things never never was terribly reprimanded. I love people that are trying to move forward, right? And take their own initiative. And if they knock over a couple of stones, turn a couple of stones they shouldn't have while they're moving in that direction, then I'm right there to support them. I've always found it harder to work with people that were where I was behind pushing them. I'd rather be in front of them stopping, right? If that's fair. So
absolutely, no, it makes total sense.
And then also people that care, like, it's really interesting, like, and you see this and you can see it when you go into any kind of, whether it's a grocery store or a restaurant or what have you, your experience when you can tell that the person that is dealing with you is trying to do a good job versus someone that is just putting in the time. Like, I'm looking
there to get a paycheck.
There to get a paycheck. And honestly, the difference that your customer or me as a customer has when that person that you're dealing with is making an effort to do the right thing and going and is doing their best to enjoy the job is I mean, it's priceless. And you end up giving that person a whole bunch more leeway than you do, that person that isn't stepping up, right? So if you've got a great server at a restaurant and that person makes a mistake, spills a drink, don't worry about it, it's no problem, right? Because everybody makes mistakes. Then you've got people that are just sort of, they haven't seen them all night, they're not around, and blah, blah, blah. When they make a mistake, you're just not as forgiving sometimes, right? So that's what I look for, those two things. Somebody that cares and somebody that shows initiative.
Those are super key qualities.
Yeah.
So you talked about how owning your own business gives you the freedom to go pick up your kid at 4 o'clock and transport them somewhere. So how do you balance your work life and personal life and the demands of running a business?
Yeah, still working on it. Great question. But I'd love to buy back some of my time as I continue to grow the business, and we talked about that before we started. But good coordination with my wife, and I also keep a single calendar. So that calendar, I code. I have 2 color codes. One is work, one is not work, but they all end up on the same list, and I work around it. So I consider my day from the time I get up to the time I go to bed as one block of time that I can trade and do things with. Now, there's certain things that have to happen between regular working hours, and in the sales business, call it sacred selling time, or so you've got your sacred selling time, and you also have your customer service and other things. Those have to happen between the hours of really 8:30 and 4:30. So there's every day there's 4 to 5 hours of that in that area, but everything else can be shifted around based on the requirements today.
Absolutely. It sounds like you're quite purposeful with your calendar, and that's a good way to be.
Working
it's always when you get it figured out. When you get it 100% figured out, there's people that make way more money than we do that still need the help. So
well, it's lovely to be able to talk to you and talk about how I do this so well. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you attribute your growth to?
Discipline, sales discipline. So the business that I have is very much one of customer acquisition and growth within the customer environment. So you have to be disciplined in terms of making sure that you're networking appropriately, you're reaching out to new potential clients appropriately, and you're putting in that time. We talked about that 4 to 5 hours of sacred selling time. Like, you have to be disciplined, and quite frankly, it's the easiest one to because it's all self-driven, and it is the easiest one to shift something that comes up, right? Because there's no customer facing need, there's no family facing need. This is just you having to do something proactive. So making sure that you carve that time out, get comfortable, and do the work is important. So I think that's been the biggest driver. And I also think that just giving good value to my customers, I'm getting a lot more business through referrals and people that have trusted me with their goods. And in return, they are rewarding me with introductions to people that they know. So it all works.
Absolutely. That's a good way to look at it. So thinking back over the last couple of years since you've purchased your business, if you were to start all over again in business and on an entrepreneurial journey, what would you do differently?
Faster.
Okay.
I would move faster. We talked about this a bit before we got on the call. I would, I think I would, when I got into this business, I got kind of into the business. And that's only been the last, I guess, 7 months or so, the 8 months that I've really dedicated 100% of my time to this. And if I had to do it again, I would have done that. I would have done that earlier. Okay. And so I would say, and I also trust myself. You know, I might, it might not appear to you, but I'm not new to the world of work. I bring a lot of experience, and I didn't bring a lot of logistics and shipping experience. However, I brought a lot of other sales, business development, and experience to the table. And often my instincts are quite good. And I would spend less time second guessing myself and more time trusting in myself and learning if I was wrong. So yeah. Yeah,
the at Action Coach, we don't ever consider anything a failure. It's all about learnings. You just, and the faster you learn, the faster you hit there.
And I've learned a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So last question is for anyone watching and they're contemplating going into business for themselves, what's the last minute piece of advice you have for them?
Make sure that you have a supportive spouse, number one, and also do your homework. Like find something, and this is an interesting question because like find something, everyone says follow your passion. Well, I mean, you know, sure, but not everybody can make, you know, make money with their passion. If your passion is, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that you just can't make money at, but take a look at what it is that you like and find businesses that allow you to do the things that you like. So for me, when people said shipping and logistics, I don't get it. In a previous life, I worked in economic development, and I got to see a lot of different companies and a lot of different things. This is the closest I've had to that. I'm dealing with companies that do everything from art, original artwork, art galleries, to companies that are making equipment for the military, and everything and anything in between. So I get to learn about how these companies work. Some of them are manufacturers, some of them are distributors, and for me, that's always been something really interesting to me. I also like people and I like networking, and that's what this business is about. So, you know, am I passionate about shipping and logistics? I guess I am, in a way, because it allows me to interact with and learn about, you know, what different people do, and that's always been interesting to me. So yeah, what I would say is look for, like, broaden your scope. Say, what is it I like, and find a business that gives you that. The other part of this business is it's very flexible. I want it at my age. I want flexibility. I want to be able to obviously make money and support the family, and I want to do something that I like, right? And just fit the bill. So yeah.
There you go, and you found it. So That's fantastic. Well, Bob, thank you so much for joining me today. It was interesting learning about your journey and where you're at, and to everyone watching in our series. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.
Yeah, Barrett, thanks very much.